Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Fly Like an Eagle podcast. I'm here with Scott Bolden. I'm Kyle. I'm here from beautiful Manahawkin, New Jersey, a little bit outside of LBI across the bridge. It is going to be a beautiful day here. We're here to talk about Dejean at 21 years of age, already hurting his hamstring. That guy doesn't stretch. We're talking about the coaching in training camp. We're talking about the Super Bowl odds going up in our favor for whatever reason, and whatever you guys want to add. So without further ado, what is up, Scotty?
What's going on, Kyle? Looks like you're in a great location there. You picked a great day to head to the shore. Definitely been a little cloudy, little gloomy, little humid in the South Jersey, Philadelphia area this week. So I'm glad that you get to enjoy yourself this weekend. Everyone has a nice sunny day. We do have a decent amount to talk about today. It's a very exciting time. Training camp is finally here. The Eagles started, I believe, they first opened up on Tuesday, and the first actual physical field practice was on Wednesday that was open to the public. So that was definitely exciting to see this team come together. Rookies, veterans, new free agents, all being on the practice field at the same time. This is when the chemistry, the dynamic, the team camaraderie, and ultimately their psyche, getting into the nitty gritty with play calls and the offense and the defensive scheme, they all come together. So it's officially here. We are on the road to week one. Everything starting now, officially matters. So that's the exciting part.
Correct. Training camp's here, like you just said. And for right now, everything looks good. You have Elliot Shore Parks doing training camp stats like he always does. He thinks they matter, so let him do his thing. And, I'm excited for football next week. I think we have, what is it, the Bears versus, who is it? The Bears versus somebody in the Hall of Fame game. I'm drawing a blank right now, but.
I'm a huge NFL stan. I love football, love the Eagles, but I could give two shits about preseason.
Oh, no. I mean,
Seriously.
I'll watch the first two drives of that Hall of Fame game and I'll turn it right off. I'll probably go to drinking or something.
Yeah, I think it is it not Bears Raiders? No, I don't know.
It might be Bears Raiders. I
Or maybe
really have no idea.
Bears, is Andre Johnson going in to the Hall of Fame? Bears Texans? I have no idea.
He might be.
I was going to ask you before we get into our topics today, where would you rank training camp on the football Eagles calendar, just compared to the draft, free agency, off season, regular season, postseason, trade deadline, what's your excitement level for training camp?
So in normal years, I would put training camp probably third behind preseason and the regular season. But this year, since we had such a lackluster end to the season, I really don't care about training camp. I just hope they come through unscathed and healthy, honestly. I want them to get through the three preseason games unscratched, and I want them to get going and into Brazil. So this year, I would put training camp at the bottom of the barrel for sure.
Yeah, for me, it would definitely, obviously, regular season playoffs most exciting. I love free agency, and then I would probably have the draft. I feel like training camp is the most interesting when you have a true position like camp battle.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously quarterback, but if you're having that, you're not a good team. So it's
Right.
We don't want to see that.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to watch the cornerback room.
Mm.
But the thing is, with training camp and preseason, no one plays in the preseason anymore. And
No.
I was actually listening to WIP, and Ike Reese was pretty much, he's like, I gave the Eagles a pass last year. You don't get better from not practicing and not playing. Which it's I understand where he's coming from. I feel like we've had this conversation for the past 10 years. Rest and be 100% healthy to start the season, or to, I don't even know, be more physical in practice and take more snaps in preseason games. For me, ultimately, it does come down to health. Now, did we start off rusty in past years? Possibly.
Mm.
But I think the whole league does for those first 2 weeks, and we're just kind of used to that. It's not ideal, but I don't want my right tackle, wide receiver, quarterback going down in training camp or a preseason game. That is just you're fucked. Your whole fall and season is ruined. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we already had that scare with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He had a calf cramp, I believe. He got carted off the field, and they said that he avoided major injuries, so that's a plus. They were already putting him with the first team defense, and he was a fourth
Wow.
round pick. So that
Hmm.
tells me that maybe he's just a natural, and people jumped over him because they don't believe that he's on his dad's level when it comes to skill. But when you're playing with the first team defense and your fourth round pick, that's very glaring, especially because N'Kobe Dean, in my honest opinion, doesn't have what it takes to play at the NFL level. He's undersized. They're always going to talk about him being on the Georgia Bulldog defense, the special one that won the championship. But at the end of the day, like I said, he's undersized. The only skill he has is tackling, but you can't tackle very well if you're not on the field. And I just feel like you got to cut bait with him because I don't think he's going to be anything more than a special team player, if that. Um, and I just don't know. But, other than that, training camp, all I want to see is no injuries, like I said. And I want to see Jalen Hurts continue to click with A.J. Brown at a high level. And that's pretty much it. Make sure Saquon Barkley doesn't get hurt, and we're ready to go.
Do you think the Georgia Bulldogs thing was, I don't want to say a bust, but like it was so overblown and like ESPN talking about it and Twitter, and it was just like a trendy thing to say at the time?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I thought it was ridiculous that we were drafting every single player from that Georgia Bulldog defense. Just because a defense is great in college doesn't mean it's going to transition to the NFL. And we literally picked every single one of the players, damn, that was scheduled to come out of the first, second, and third round. So I don't. That's why I really don't put Howie Roseman on the pedestal as other people do, because in hindsight, those are very easy picks to make when they're right on the board, right at you. It's not like you're really going above and beyond for a special player. You're picking the players on the defense, that legendary defense, even if they might not be great players. So Howie Roseman to me has been very lucky. He's been very fortunate. He has a Super Bowl title. I'll give him credit, but maybe two out of the five that we picked are NFL prepared or skilled. You know, Other than that, I don't see N'Kobe Dean being a good player. Jordan Davis is kind of sucks. We could have had Kyle Hamilton. You know, Ringo was a fifth round player, so we'll see. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, it's just weird, man. It was a really easy foundation to pick, and maybe two of the players out of the five are good. So
For me, it's like how the whole defense is good. You don't really know who is good. You
mhm.
know, if this was, and I'm not going to use Alabama as an example, but some school where the defense is average, but you have one outstanding young player. You know, it's almost kind of like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick if you think about it, because we're like who's actually good. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It gets even harder with 12 players on one side of the ball. If every player is good to great, football is a team sport. They're playing
right.
collectively. Now, the thing that I think Howie and the fan base and the media thought was very valuable was the camaraderie between those three players coming into the league together, having all that history, knowing each other's tendencies, so on and so forth. But yeah, we even forgot about Nolan Smith that Choplin just reminded us of.
Yeah, the
Obviously
thirty
Nolan
first
Smith
pick last
didn't
year.
yeah, he didn't play last year. Hopefully he gets some snaps this year. So it's like we have a little bit of depth with those players. Let's hopefully see that they actually get some playing time.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, man. It's a hard league. Not everyone is going to make it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Jalen Carter looks to be the actual star so far.
yeah.
And honestly, thank God, because he was kind of like a luxury pick. He was marketed as, or that's what we were told.
Top
But if we
five.
didn't have him now, we would literally have no D tackles at all,
Nope.
right?
hmm
So that was definitely a blessing in disguise that he was still there. What did we get him at 12, I think? Or was it
We got
8?
Jalen Carter at 9.
9. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he was supposed to be top 3 pick.
Well, he was
Um,
gonna be a top 3 pick, but then he got into that drag racing accident.
yeah, we know the legal issues are the personal issues, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be an exciting time, and more news going to come about those position battles. Again, we wish for no injuries. I've
Right.
also just heard that obviously we got to talk about Dalen, of course. I've heard he looks a little faster. I think I watched a couple of interviews this week. Nothing too much of note. He said all the correct thing. I think everybody did that I watched.
Right.
AJ Brown sounded really good. Sounded a little bit more mature. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. Did you see any coverage else this week that you thought was interesting or of note?
No, not really. I like the fact that we're unscathed so far. There's no real injuries, and the fact that football's almost here. You know, like I said before, I wish I could give you more about training camp. I've watched as much, I've kept up with it about as much as the normal fan. But at the end of the day, all I want is another Vince Lombardi trophy. And the way the season ended last year, I'm sorry if I'm not that up for training camp. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I said, I think it's more interesting when there is like a big position battle or like a new head coach.
Oh yeah,
Obviously,
James Bradbury's starting with the second team, so that's big.
yeah, I did see. I mean, I at this point, I would say it's Quinion Mitchell and Darius Slay on the outside.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't
no, I
know.
can.
I know you were high on from the
Isaiah
Colts. What's his
Rogers.
name? Yeah, I
Isaiah
don't know if
Rogers.
there's any update on him, but
Yeah, yeah. I think Isaiah Rogers is going to have a rotational piece on this defense. He could even start over Quinion Mitchell to start, show him the ropes, and then you put Quinion Mitchell in there when he's ready. So I wouldn't say that right now it's going to be Mitchell and Slay. I could see Slay and Rogers, but if they do start Mitchell over Rogers, I'd be kind of shocked. But I guess I could see it. We'll see.
I would love that, and I think we are due for a true because Jalen Carter would have had consideration, but I'm going to do a
Mhm.
little bit of a hot take. I think that Quinion Mitchell will be in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Well, he has to play to do that, but that's a pretty big hot take.
Exactly. I mean, I think he's going to start
I think so. Okay.
in Brazil. I truly do. Him and Darius Slay.
So I'll put that in my imaginary notes. Scotty says he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Gotcha. All right, cool. And by the way, Nolan Smith was at 30 last year.
The second round. I know we moved back up
No,
into the
first round.
first round. Yeah,
Yep.
moved back up into the first round. All right, so you did tease at the beginning of the show. Cooper Dejean, I believe, I don't know if he was hurt on Tuesday or during mini camps. He tweaked his hamstring. He's going to be out 3 weeks. I know you were joking around with. We were talking about this earlier in the week, and you were joking around with me about it. That somehow he's a bust, but what do you think? Is this going to be a huge setback? And what are the expectations for this kid? I feel like he is such a wild card for me. I did not know a lot about him. Again, I'm not like the biggest NCAA following, college football, except for like
Yeah.
the national title game, Heisman. So that's just me. Now, just to me, this kid, I'm sorry, but this kid is tiny. Okay,
Mm.
this kid looks super young, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing. I know he can like deadlift like 500 pounds or something like that. I'm not sure how tall he is. I don't know. I just think like there's a lot against him, and then of course the white defensive back stigma. So I don't really know what I would love if he can come in and be a safety or some type of slot corner, but like what should our expectations be for Cooper DeJean?
Well, my expectations would be higher if he were picked in the first round, where I thought we were gonna take him. But for right now, I mean, we got again Howie Roseman got lucky because we don't have to rush him in there since he was picked in the second round. Your high expectations are on Quinion Mitchell. Those are your high expectations. Now, looking at Cooper DeJean, He's a 21-year-old kid. I'm a little bit worried. I know I joked with you in the beginning of the week saying that he was a bust, but the fact of the matter is the kid's 21 years of age. He stretches every day. He stretches. He probably has a professional stretcher at this point. And getting hurt when you're not really getting like when you're not really going through contact drills in training camp is a cause of concern for someone that young. And I know you're going to think I'm sounding crazy, blah, 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 but it's just something that shouldn't happen with a 21-year-old. It just isn't, so I hope it's not something that's
As far as
going to,
what, like his like durability, flexibility,
yes.
recovery, right?
Yeah, because these athletes stretch every single day. If you're just having a regular hamstring issue and you're a cornerback at this level, that's a problem. So I hope it's not something that's consistent. I hope it's not something that's prolonged. I hope he gets back on the field and shows his skill. But at the same time, I don't really have much expectations for him because at this point, now that he did get hurt in training camp, I feel like they're going to use him less and less this year since he's a rookie and they don't really need to use him since they have the depth at that position. That's just how I view it.
I'm reading something now that Cooper Dejean performs Eminem's "Lose Yourself" for Eagles rookie talent show. That's
Yeah, I
funny.
agree with Choplet. He says sit and learn for Deshaun and build him up, Dejean.
Deshaun. What the heck? Oh, they're about the Sean Jackson on speed.
Yeah, another
Um,
hamstring person.
yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I think maybe I don't know. The hype was very high for him when he was drafted. I think we all were super excited. But yeah, it's like it's hard to have expectations for a 21-year-old in anything. That's
Mhm.
like kind of crazy. It's like, is a 21-year-old going to come out here and tackle a 6'4", 8-year veteran receiver? Like I just can't really. I
No,
don't
I
know.
would sit
Maybe
him.
maybe
I would sit
maybe
him.
it is the white thing. I really
Oh,
don't know.
stop it with
Right?
this.
I don't, because I just looked him up. He is 6 foot. Maybe, and like we've seen corners like Asante Samuel, people don't have a lot of muscle mass. So I think we just need to see it to believe it, and we're just. I think we want to know what is going to be his role, what position is he actually going to play,
Mhm.
and then we can have some more like blind faith or confidence. But right now, it's just between the hamstring, the odds against him, not knowing what position he truly is best for. I think that's where it's like a little worrisome, or just not ideal.
Well, we have a celebrity in the house. Joey Shake 72. Sup, guys? Eagles being extra cautious. We don't even know what happened. He will miss one preseason game the most if it's 3 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Joey, but at the end of the day, he is a rookie. You want to be cautious with him. He's not necessarily a priority this year, in my opinion. I feel like, if anything, he'll be a special teamer, maybe a rotational piece. But like I said, they have guys that are ready to play right now. I mean, hell, you're starting Bradbury on the second team. You have Isaiah Rogers, you have Quinion Mitchell, like you said, you have Darius Slay, you have Blankenship, you have Vonta Maddox. You have these guys that we have tremendous depth that we didn't have last year, and I feel like at this point it's
You
safer to
forget
be
about
precautionary.
C.J. Gardner Johnson.
See, I forgot about CJ. So you have all these guys now and total depth on the secondary that you didn't have last year. So I would be extra cautious with Cooper at this point because there's no need to rush him in there and play mind games with him at this point in his career, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he should definitely be focused on learning the playbook, trying to become a professional. He has the talent. It's just going to be a little bit of a process and forming a mold for him.
Mhm. Right.
Let's, hopefully, I'm sure Vic Fangio, Howie, whoever, had an idea of where they wanted to use him, his skill set, how does it work on this team, on this defense.
Right.
But we also know that this team does like those types of projects, like a Jordan Mailata, or, unfortunately, I would still call Jordan Davis a project for,
Jordan. Yeah,
as long as
literally.
we should talk about Jordan Davis a little, because I know he gets a lot of backlash from Twitter and the
Mm,
media about being in shape and his weight. Now, I'm
yeah.
obviously not one to, body shame or discriminate. It's football. It's your professional job. This is part of the job to be in top physical condition. But just to get in someone's head when you're getting paid millions of dollars and you are, is it laziness? What is your opinion on why there has been issues with this? And like, what are your thoughts, respectfully?
I mean, respectfully, too much stress eating for one. You know, you come home from long days of work and you played a good game. You think you burned all these calories, which you did, and then you go slam five Big Macs or five Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and then you keep the weight on. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the guy seems like he has a problem keeping his weight off, and it's killing him in these games because he can't stay consistent. You know, he's huffing and puffing for air probably after the third snap, and you're not going to be successful at this level like that. You gotta do what Joel Embiid did and just cut out all the garbage, and you got to play for your future because you get older every year. I mean, no one stays young forever, and if you want to play in the NFL for year after year after year for 15 years, you're gonna have to change your ways of life. And some of these athletes don't get it, and not that I think Jordan Davis is that talented anyway. I don't really see much out of him as a first round pick,
Yeah.
but he hasn't really given us any reason to say otherwise. He's been average at best, in my opinion. He's coming into camp every single year, the same guy. So every single time I see this guy play, I think more and more how we jumped over Kyle Hamilton and how we could have had one of the better safeties in the league. And we do this every single time, and it just pisses me off.
Yeah, and I feel like he hasn't even really gotten to play that much. You had Fletcher Cox here, who we probably are going to look back and be like, we kind of missed this dude. And like, we kind of maybe didn't fully realize how valuable and good he was.
Yeah.
I honestly think he was a little underrated. I don't want to say disrespected, but a little bit underrated with this fan base because of the position that he plays. And like, oh, well, he's not Aaron Donald. So, but like, this guy, Fletcher Cox, was extremely respected. Every time you watch an interview with another player on another team, Joe Burrow was talking about Fletcher Cox the other day. Like, his name always gets brought up. And I'm on Wikipedia. I'm looking at just our roster right now. I'm a little concerned about the D line, honestly.
Mm.
Um, Josh Sweat totally collapsed. I think I think he's one of the worst players on the defense during that stretch. He didn't do anything.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a concern. Um, yeah, Brandon Graham, who of course we love BG, but he's not a starter.
Nope.
And so you have Bryce Huff
Who knows?
and who did they draft in the third round? Hunt, right?
Yeah, Jackson Hunt.
Is that like it's kind of like a mystery, no? Or no?
Yep. No, it really is.
For our TNs, and then I'm sorry, I'm looking at 23. What the hell? That's why I didn't see Hunt and Bryce Huff on there. But yeah, so that's a little bit of a mystery for me, and I think I didn't realize it at first.
Right.
And a lot of these people, and what Jamar just said, he's concerned as well. They have not played together, and we are someone that prioritizes stopping the run. That is huge. And it's also, again, thinking back to that Arizona Cardinals game, that trauma now, where they
Yep.
James Conner just ran it down our throats. Like, it is not fun to get ran on.
Yeah.
So I think that is the biggest. Obviously linebacker, but like we always just do it, whatever that, like, we don't put the resources into it. So it's like we can't have that high of expectations for a linebacker, but they love the D line.
Well, the thing with me is the defensive line has always been our strong suit, and now it's like our
Exactly.
third tier suit. It's weird because we never value the linebacking position. We always view the secondary as kind of a second tier type of thing, and now our defensive line is the question mark when it never is. So
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, but then
They also
again,
have Josh Sweat listed as the outside linebacker in this defense.
I
What
might
do
like that. I might
you?
like that. I think it'll suit him better to play at that position, especially with Hassan Reddick out.
Yeah, but
So
then who the hell do we have at D end? Right? I mean, he'll just be coming up to blitz, I'm sure,
we might
and
have to we might have
dropping
to
into coverage.
rotate BG out.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because if you look at our D line, we have 3 first-round picks on it. BG,
Yep.
Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. One of those is in their final season. Thank you for your
Mm,
service. And then the other two are Jalen Carter, we think is going to be a great player. But besides that, I mean, I guess it's the Jordan Davis. He needed to be a really good player, and right now he's a total question mark. And
total bust.
I know, and I think we don't want to admit it yet, or we don't want to, but like it's year 3, right? With Jordan
Yep.
Davis.
Hmm.
So it's make it or break it time, and I'm having him on the field. Like he should be a starter, and he will be a
Mm,
starter most likely. If he's not, that's just sad because we have no one else. Um, Pelotu, which actually he's been good in his little limited snaps, but
yep.
yeah, that's definitely a concern. So we will see how that
Yeah.
goes.
Outside of Carter, who scares you on that D line?
I know they like. I mean, kind you traded Hassan Reddick, who is now holding out for the Jets, which we didn't like at
Yep.
the time. I think that you said you ended up being fine with it, right? That
No, I
trade.
mean, if I did say I was fine, I was being a delusional. I mean, having Hassan Reddick on this team would be a huge asset right now. And the fact that we gave him away because he was holding out, we didn't want to give him a contract. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's going to work out, but he's the reason why we got the Super Bowl in the first place because he almost flat out murdered Brock Purdy. So I I don't know why he'd give someone away like that, but hey, to each their own, I guess.
Also, it's kind of weird how people don't want to pay him after 3 straight 10+ sack seasons. Like that's a red flag. Like what's going on there? It can't just be his age, right?
It probably is. You know how all the analytical garbage is coming up. It's a lot of people look at and rely on computers now. They don't think common sense, and that's a problem with the world, not just football, the world. And it's garbage, man. But at the end of the day, hopefully it doesn't backfire.
I agree. Actually, I agree with that point because sometimes like you have to just take that risk, like calculate a risk. You have to take a
Yep.
chance to be successful. Like not everything can be predetermined, right?
It's like yeah, it's like baseball, for example. These pitchers, they used to pitch over 100 pitches every single game, but now that the computer is telling them otherwise, they're no longer pitching. They're going up to like 80, 85 pitches at most.
Mm, yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm not like too familiar with like the pitch count in baseball, but it does remind me of Joel Embiid, you know, sitting for however many games in a regular season or stuff like that. Difference between protecting health versus like a roster move based on whatever factor. But also, I think that Howie was like, because he paid BG. Um, we kept Fletcher Cox for another year, which ended up being a great move because Cox was really good last year. So I think he had that reputation of holding on to those older pieces, which kind of I don't know if it bit us in the past, not with those players, but I think there was some from the Super Bowl team that I can't think of at this moment that he kept a little bit too long because of nostalgia. But yeah, Hassan Reddick was still really good. And, you're pretty much putting a lot of faith into Bryce Huff. And I just hope that whoever scouted Jordan Davis is not scouting Bryce Huff, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said before, the reason why I'm not in love with the whole Bryce Huff signing, like other than the money and the years, is because he was a rotational piece for Salah's defense. And usually, when you're replacing a full time player with a rotational piece, it doesn't work out because that rotational piece is a rotational piece for a reason. Usually, they can't last the whole game, or you know, that was his best year out of any year he'll ever have in the NFL, and that's why the Jets got rid of him like he was nothing. So I want to see if we grabbed a diamond in the rough, or it's one of those picks where we were trying to be better with money and it just backfires on us.
Well, I was going to say, do you remember the last time I wrote a rotational defensive lineman became a starter? And if anyone in the comments wants to chime in and if they can think of anyone in recent years, I guess you could say for us, Josh Sweat, but like I'm not even high on him, and now apparently he's going to be an outside linebacker and drop into coverage or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think. And can you think of anyone? I guess you could
Nope.
say maybe BG, but like he was a first round pick. But like,
Yeah, it was BG. BG was the definition of a late bloomer. I remember when people wanted him off the team, and people were saying that we should have drafted Earl Thomas. It's pretty much the same thing with Jordan Davis and Kyle Hamilton in a way, because if you look at that, maybe Jordan Davis is a late bloomer, just like BG was. But yeah, BG was a
we can
rotational
hope.
piece because he,
We can hope, right?
yeah, yeah, like BG was used as a rotational piece at one point because he was a late bloomer and he wasn't showing his skill at the NFL level for like the first 4 or 5 years, as I
You know,
remember.
I kept the faith.
Yep.
Well, you know
Yeah.
why I
So
did that? Because Madden always had him ranked so high, his
mhm.
overall. So he has the reputation from Michigan. Like he was a great college player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's such a likable person. I'm still glad that he's on this team. I think he's getting like 3 million to 5 million, which is kind of a little pricey. I mean, you're not going to disrespect him,
No.
but I mean, I'll just come out and say it. Do you think we could have used that money elsewhere?
No, not $3 to $5 million. I mean, at that point, you're really going to scrape the bottom of the barrel for another rotational piece. I would have rather kept BG for one more year, let him go out on his own terms, and that was pretty. It
Yeah,
was the right move.
yeah. No, I definitely agree,
Yeah.
100% for sure. But yeah, that's a little bit of the defense and Jordan Davis. I did want to ask you one more thing, but I cannot.
Sponsored by High Noon. Yeah, right. I wish.
Our first time having an alcoholic beverage cocktail
Yep. Pretty much, it is the shore.
on Fly Like an
So.
Eagle podcast.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna move on from that. We were talking about Cooper Dejean. We got into the defense a little bit. Before the show, obviously everyone knows that you are a huge Vegas odds gambling mofo poker champion. So
One day.
you told me before the show that the Eagles Super Bowl odds have raised, and I will
Hmm.
let you tell the audience the details and a little bit of your thoughts about that.
So basically, the whole off season, the Eagles were favored 16-1, which means if you lay down $100, you'll win $1,600 plus your money back, which is $1,700 total. If the Eagles were to win the Super Bowl, those odds have shifted down from 16-1 to 13-1. Why? I have no idea. Maybe the public likes betting them. Maybe there's a shift among talent and coaches. Who knows? But that's a very good sign when it comes to the computers because they're basically telling you that this team is a reckon with. The only teams right now in the NFC that have higher odds than them are the Detroit Lions, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really like them, especially because they just got rid of CJ Gardner Johnson. And number two, the San Francisco 49ers, because they have all that talent. We don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk, but they still have a ton of talent. They have C-Mac, probably one of the best running backs in the league. So I could totally see them as being the favorite, obviously, but
Don't forget about Debo,
Deebo Samuel, yeah, running back turned wide receiver. So
who
yeah,
hates our soul. All right.
they have a great team. It's a great rivalry. I can't wait to play them again in the playoffs. And yeah, I could see why it shifted down, but like you said, without a deep defensive line that we don't really know about yet, who knows how far we're going to go? But time will tell.
Could it be Hard Knocks? I haven't Saquon here, is that right?
Yeah,
I think that, well, first of all, it is an extremely talented roster overall. Like you said,
right.
at least number 3 in the NFC. I would kind of agree that I'm not. Maybe the Lions are a little overrated because last year, especially last year. Also, the NFC is just terrible. It's so
Mhm.
bad.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
it's
there's a
so
select few
bad.
teams.
Like the Packers are now one of the best teams. And like,
I guess.
well, I know. I'm just saying, like, because there's no one else. Like, but we remember we both had Jordan Love on fantasy last year. Like, they were dead
Hmm.
in the water. Like week 10, 11. Like, we thought this was a done team for the year. They went on that winning streak, got the 7th seed, beat the Cowboys. But like last year, it was us, the Cowboys, and the 49ers. And then you did have
Oh,
the Lions. They were upcoming. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask you that before I forget. So, gun to your head, if you're in a PPR league, who are you taking number one overall?
This season, I guess I would take Christian McCaffrey, right?
Okay, all right, not who I'm taking, but I like it. I
Are you,
I
are
would
you going to
I
review?
would take I would take Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill, what he put up last year, what he did on the Dolphins defense, was Cooper Cup esque, and I
What
feel
if
like
Tua?
he
What if Tua goes down?
if Tua goes down, different story. But
That's what
you're
I'm saying.
relying on
I feel like McCaffrey. That's just like guaranteed.
yeah.
Of course he could get hurt, but I mean, last year he was like godly last year, and
Well,
we
and
will
plus,
see.
I'm in a keeper league, and I already have Brees Hall. So taking Christian McCaffrey, that's two running backs, no wide receivers. So
Okay. Yeah, I think now I'm like I would honestly sometimes I would literally take the best quarterback like in the Peyton Manning days, and of course you can never go wrong with Patrick Mahomes, but running backs are more scarce than ever before. I mean, you can find good ones throughout the year that just pop up out of nowhere for 3 weeks. Who was that guy from the Dolphins last year that had like a really good little run? He had like 30. He averaged like 30 points a game.
oh, it wasn't Mostert, it was Avance.
Yes, and
Yes.
then he kind of never did anything. He wasn't anything special for the rest of the year. It was like a 3 to 5 week stretch where he was like really, really good.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's it's fantasy is it's kind of luck of the draw, and you have to be smart in your draft.
Hmm.
But would you say there's a lot of luck involved in fantasy?
There's a lot of stupidity involved in fantasy. So I mean, I wouldn't say luck. I mean, it depends on who you're playing with. So if you're in a 12-person league and like you have that one person that messes up the draft, we actually have one of those people in the league that messed up the draft last year. So the top four picks, it went Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, and then it went Jamar Chase. But the fourth pick, I'm not going to say who it was because I'm not mean like that. But the fourth pick overall was T. Higgins, and it messed up the entire order. And I ended up taking Travis Kelsey at 8, which in turn got me Justin Jefferson because the guy that I traded with liked Travis Kelsey so much that he was willing to give up Justin Jefferson today.
Mm, wow.
So it messed up the entire draft. And unfortunately, the commissioner that's running the league is like one of my best friends. The commissioner that's running the league this year doesn't have what it takes to kick this guy out of the league, even though he ruined the entire setup last year.
That stinks.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to reality football. Jamar says you hear Jordan Love is holding out of camp. I just Googled that. It looks like they're close to a deal. I don't know if it's as dramatic, kind of as you're making it sound there. But I fully expect him to be a Packer. I know you were a fan of him. Good, like I said, you had him in fantasy. The Packers, man, they just know how to evaluate the quarterback position, don't they? It's kind of like everyone else take notes.
Yeah.
If this is going to be their third straight, well, the other two are Hall of Famers. Third straight, at least starting good caliber quarterback with no gap or awful play in between.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I always liked Matt LaFleur. That's what I was just saying. You're saying you don't know about the Packers as being one of the best teams. But I kind
Right.
of wanted to just go through the NFC with you because, first of all, you have the NFC South, who are all teams that are where we don't really take seriously. I mean, I don't know how you feel about the Falcons, but like we know the Bucks are Baker Mayfield is not going to win a Super Bowl. Like I just don't see that
No,
happening ever. So we
no.
could take them out of it. You know, Panthers obviously one of the worst teams in the league. Saints and Falcons. How do you feel about the Falcons? Are they gonna could they be a surprise wild card or are they really
I
what do you
don't.
think?
I don't think the Falcons are surprised at all. I think them getting Kirk Cousins was major. You know, they have talent there to begin with. They have Bijan Robinson. They have Kyle Pitts, who has yet to thrive yet. And I called him heavy feet, but he has a quarterback now. So we'll see what happens there. They have Drake London. They have all these extra pieces. They have a decent coach now. I think they're going to win that division this year.
Okay, but are they gonna be a threat in the playoffs or
No,
no?
because it's Kirk Cousins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the Saints, I mean, we just know I like Derek Carr, but like come on now. Like it's Derek Carr, you
Yeah,
know? He's not gonna
exactly.
do so that takes out the South. The West, Seattle's probably a little bit of a mystery rebuild, but I can't imagine them winning more than 8 or 9 games.
No, they suck.
Um, we know the Cardinals are the Cardinals pretty much.
They're not the Cardinals anymore. I mean, they just got Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray. If he stays healthy the entire year, you never know. They have a decent squad. I think the Cardinals will win 10 to 11 games this year. I don't know about threat, but they'll definitely be up there as most improved. And I'm one of the
You think
few that
10,
likes John.
11 games? You think 10, 11
I
games?
do. I think Jonathan
Wow,
Gannon.
now that's a hot take. Would you put money on that? Would you bet it? 10,
I
11 for
might.
the
Yeah,
Cardinals?
I might. I think they have talent, and I think
Yeah,
they
you
have a
would.
coach.
I think you would be a rich man if you bet that, even if they
I
get a
think.
wild card spot.
Well,
Seriously.
because I think I'm one of the only people that has a brain enough to realize that Jonathan Ginnon's actually a good coach.
I
So I
don't
mean,
think I don't think he's a good head coach. I think he could be a good defensive coordinator again.
they beat
I
us.
just don't know about him being a head coach. So,
Hmm.
also, can you really how Kyler Murray's been in the league for a minute now. He's been through a lot of shit. Like kind of like a Jordan Davis. Are these people finally going to click out of nowhere and really live up to their potential? I don't know. You know, Kyler
Yeah.
Murray was so touted out of college and he has the ability, but is he super like impressive? Not really
No,
to me
no,
at this point, right?
no. I mean, he's better at baseball for sure, but he was the number one pick overall. Like you're forgetting
Yeah,
about
and
that.
like what in 2019 or when was he drafted? It's been a
No,
while
he
now.
was he was drafted right in front of Jalen Hurts. So 2019, yes.
Yeah, it's 2024, so it's been some years. It's been a couple seasons.
Yeah, but Kyler Murray's a sneaky bastard, so you never really know.
Yeah, but like he's not even Michael Vick. I'm just talking about like what he's done in his career. It's like he
Nothing.
really hasn't his stats, wins, like he hasn't done anything, you know? So playoff
Yeah,
appearances, like so that's where I'm like, he's 26. He'll actually be 27 on in August. So
yeah.
he's kind of old, you know,
I
and
mean,
really
he's
hasn't
not
done
old.
anything.
I mean, yeah, he's so old. He's your age.
I'm he's old for quarterback years, and like I'm saying, these people like look at CJ Stroud. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously CJ Stroud is getting hyped up to the max, which I
Hmm.
mean, after the rookie year, rightfully so. I think he's going to be a great player. But
Yeah.
I've seen Houston like number 3 in the power rankings over us. That's how much hype
Yeah, it's
Houston's getting.
bullshit.
Have you
That's dumb.
right?
Yeah, I mean, just because they got Stephon Diggs, who's a cancer to every locker room he goes to. Yeah, three.
So back to the NFC. How do you feel about the Rams? Quick little wrap around here.
I mean, it depends on how Stafford plays, but I think they kind of that ship has sailed until they get another quarterback who is younger and plays like Stafford. Because Stafford is injury prone, you never know if he's going to last the entire year. You know, they have great pieces. They have Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua, who balled out last year. They have Kieran Williams, running back. They have pieces on that team. Tyler Higbee. So, yeah, I mean, Sean McVay, great head coach. So if they put it together, they could be. I'm not going to say a threat, but they'll definitely be a playoff team. Yeah.
judging from how you answered that question, it might not even be that there's not that many good teams. There's not any exciting teams in the
No.
NFC. It's
Mm-mm.
us, the 49ers, the Lions. Now you can say the Packers. Always the Cowboys are always a topic of conversation for who they are.
Yeah.
But like, who else is a fun team to watch in the NFC? Like, it's kind of crazy because when we were growing up, it was always the AFC. They had Tom
Mm.
Brady, Peyton Manning, the Steelers. Like there was only a few really good teams, and there was always going to be one of
Mm-hmm.
those teams. And it was the NFC. Like every year was a different team. Like
Yeah.
literally almost every single division, every team like had their time to shine. Besides Dallas and Washington.
Well, I
But
mean,
like
if you're talking about fun teams, it's going to be the Niners.
yeah, I'm saying,
I'm
but if you go to the AFC, I could name like 8 fun teams, and we could name like 2 in the NFC, right?
pretty much. Yeah, even Jacksonville I'd put there.
You could make an argument for that for sure.
Yep.
So I mean, we're not going to complain. I don't want to call the NF our schedule a cakewalk, but yeah, it kind of is because there's so many question marks with teams. Also, we know how bad the Giants are going to be, and we play them twice a year.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's probably why the odds went up. And also, I don't know, is Brock Purdy going to be the 49ers like long-term starter? Are they going to give him Patrick Mahomes money
Oh
at some
yeah.
point?
Yeah, I just saw a deal. It was like a 6-year deal in the ballpark of 350. So they're
Wow,
definitely, yeah, they're trying to get him locked down.
now. Do you think he deserves that money?
Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why. Um, it takes really naturally, well, a real natural player to do what he's done in such a little amount of time. And the fact that he was a seventh round pick is a joke. That means that the scouts aren't doing their job. He places the ball perfectly on the receivers. Granted, if they're like all pros or not, he finds the open guy. I mean, you're talking about things that Blaine Gabbert couldn't do. You give him all the talent in the world. Blaine Gabbert couldn't do that. Bethenhurt, or what's his name? CJ Bethert, like he couldn't
Yeah,
do that.
Demarcus
Kyle Mullen,
Russell.
Kyle Mullins couldn't do that. Jamarcus Russell couldn't do that. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback.
Tim
So
Tebow
yeah,
couldn't do it.
nope, Tim Tebow couldn't do it. And he makes it look effortless, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's worth the money for sure.
Yeah, I mean results. Now, of course, the biggest question is the same about this about Hurts too, but it's irrelevant because they're not in situations like would they be as good on a different team? But like, who cares? They're not on a different team.
Right,
You know, they're
exactly.
they're on a talented team. So that conversation that everyone loves to talk about, like Micah Parsons and this, that, third. Well, you kind of worry about that more down the line, like when Tom Brady and Bill Belichick split. But these people are locked down with these great players on these teams for 5 to 6 years. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like irrelevant to say, now, do I think he would be? No, because no one would be if they didn't have that talent around him,
Mm,
you
yeah.
know? So it is us in the 49ers. Obviously, we want some revenge for how we got embarrassed last year. We're doing it without Hassan Reddick. But the thing why I do have faith is because we really lost that game because of how bad our secondary could not tackle for shit. James
Yeah.
Bradbury getting sliced and burned by Debo. Slay didn't have a good game. Relying on Reed Blankenship as like our number one safety for everything is
It's
not.
embarrassing.
Yeah, like it just we were had the blind Homer faith last year. Now we have a really good safety that almost led the league in interceptions. I think he might have tied the lead, even though he was hurt a lot of games, something
Hmm.
like that, which is really impressive. He was so good in 23,
Oh yeah.
like one of our top 3 players. Like honestly,
So
I would put him up there with AJ Brown of how good CJ Gardner Johnson played before he got hurt. He was really good.
yeah, I mean, I've been considering. So I'm gonna get a Brandon Graham jersey, obviously because he's retiring, and I have Foles, I have Kels, and I'm gonna get Graham now for the Legends. But I was also thinking about getting a CJ Gardner Johnson jersey because on this team right now, I feel like he's one of the bigger assets. Like I would get Barkley, but I want to see him do something with the team before he does. And he was a Giant, so you gotta kind of got to shift it to our way a little bit, and we'll see if he wins here, and then I'll figure out if I'm going to get his jersey or not. But CJ Gardner Johnson right now, I feel like that would be my pick to get a jersey, and along with Graham.
That would be awesome. Now, I think they only signed him to a 1-year deal, right?
No, CJ Gardner Johnson, 3 years, 39.
Oh, perfect then. Oh my God, that's great. I thought it was just another 1-year deal. Finally. I
Nope.
mean, again, that was besides hiring the fucking worst coordinators ever, because that's what they're telling us that they were. It was all on the coordinators. Besides that, letting
Yeah,
him walk was, one of the worst decisions of last year, right?
easily. Like they should have given him that deal after the Super Bowl
And like
and kept him
why
here.
and why not? You did it now. So what's the difference, right?
Because
Like
I think they realize what they lost, and the fact of the matter is that CJ never wanted to leave. That's why he came back so quickly, And the fact that you have a player that wants to play here and is good enough to play here, just like that whole Nick Foles thing, where he's good enough to play here to win a championship, that's great. You have one of those players, and he should be the captain on the defense, in my opinion.
I would love that. And I think he does have the swagger, the confidence, the voice to do that for sure. I don't know why I just
Yep.
got blurry. There we go. Um, yeah, I think he is a huge underrated piece that they missed out on for sure. I don't understand because we always talk about this. I always tell you, we win and we are great when we have a great secondary. We have
Mm.
had a great D line, and maybe that's a good thing for this year because we're unsure about the D line. We've had a great D line and a piss poor secondary, and we haven't been good.
Yeah.
But when we had Patrick Robinson and I can't even think right now, the 2017 secondary class, and
Mm.
23 was probably even better
It was.
somehow because Bradbury played amazing. That was his
Hmm.
last good year of his career. Um, and I don't know why that does need to be your philosophy. I know they like to build from the inside out with the lines, which I do agree with. But it's like, okay, we sucked when we didn't have wide receivers. When we had Jordan Matthews and no names, like we were terrible, and we sucked when we didn't have corners last year. So it's like everything matters on a team, but I'm glad that they're investing it in Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, in CJ Gardner Johnson. Hopefully, Quinyon Mitchell becomes a really good player and they lock these people down because it cannot be a revolving door at corner, and it really still has been because Bradbury's only been here for what, 2 years, Slay 3.
Yep.
Like we
Hmm.
need a 8-year starting corner that is going to be here for a long time. That's very vital for me. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. Um,
Oh,
yeah. And Jamar says no QB that loses their Super Bowl debut has returned in about 17 years. You think that changes? I mean, time will tell. I mean, that's a horrible stat. Uh, didn't
well, it's just
CJ take
hard.
less money than?
It's hard to make the Super Bowl in general. You know.
Yeah, it is. Like we got in there. The thing with us is we got in there so easy that we kind of forgot how hard it was to make the Super Bowl, and we thought we were going to get back the next year just as easy, and it just doesn't work like that.
Well, we still would have had good odds if we could have beat the Giants and Cardinals. So it's
Yeah.
like we just collapsed. I mean, we still had like a good chance to go to the championship game because of how bad the NFC is. We know, but don't know what happened last year, basically. So the cakewalk in 23, correct, but
Hmm.
it's not that much harder. You really got the Lions. Like there really isn't like another team that scares you. Do we even play the Lions in the regular season this year? I don't think we do, right?
No,
So you don't even have to play them. I don't know.
no.
We will
Dobbin
see.
says, didn't CJ take less money to go to another team? Yeah, because his agent screwed that one up. And fortunately for him, he balled out on a really good team. They went to the NFC Championship game, his second back to back. So that got him the contract that he deserved. So it all worked out for him in the end.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Do we have one more topic today? Well,
Maddox is
Matt,
just a piece at this point.
it's a shame because he's a great slot corner. Again, he's someone else that played great in 2017. Did he? I think he obviously got hurt again in 2013. When is he not hurt? I almost
Yeah.
had. I don't know why I even thought about that for a second.
Yep.
And it's a shame he's still kind of young, but again, it's good depth to have. And we will see. I don't really know what his issue is. Again, maybe one of these people that are just injury prone, unfortunately. And that's I was gonna what I want to go another question. I just thought of it that I had, but people are injury prone. Kind of going back to what we were talking about with scouting and how they missed Brock Purdy and quarterbacks. Why do I don't even know? And like with the Jordan Davis, is it so hard to read these kids? Like what are they missing? Like, how does it happen well, especially in Brock Purdy's case, for him to go to the 7th round? What do you attribute that to? What do they need to change? Like, what are your thoughts on why people, they can't get it right sometimes? Or is it just that hard?
No, they just need to adjust. Some players have the natural ability to play at this level, and some players can never find it. I mean, for the most part, to succeed in the NFL, you need to have the natural ability. You can't learn that. And I think what a lot of these players try to do is they try to learn from others, and you can't learn from someone that's natural. You either have it or you don't. And for me, we don't know what Jordan Davis is yet, even after 3 years. Hopefully, he's a late bloomer. But like I said before, you gotta have some natural ability. If you don't, then you're going up shit's creek without a paddle. So I
So
mean,
what
just how it
what
is.
I meant by the question is, how did they know that he wasn't going to be motivated to build his body and keep the weight off?
They
Like,
didn't. It
I'm
was it was a
saying,
pure gamble. Sometimes in the NFL draft, you're gonna have to
I
gamble
don't
to.
know, but like, wouldn't you be able to read someone better, or you can't read these young kids, or they does it's not that deep, or like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, reading abilities when it comes to health and diets, especially when you're picking someone of his size. I mean, you'd really have to fuck something up to look at him and say he can lose weight just like that. So to answer your question, I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, we know that they talk to like their high school coaches, they interview their families, they do like the Wonderlist test and all that shit. I'm sure they talk to a psychologist. So I don't know. And I guess like, even if you have some question marks, you're maybe that's not going to sway your full decision.
Mhm.
But someone's attitude and mindset is like half the battle plus their talent.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm sure there could have been a lot of successful people that just didn't. Oh, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Thanks for checking though.
as I was saying, a lot of successful people that could have been great players, but they just didn't have love for the game or protecting or perfecting their craft because
Right.
they were about it for the money or the fame or, their talent carried them enough to get paid, but they're not going to be, you know, they didn't care about it like the greats do, basically.
Right. I agree.
Davis is an average player. It's year 3, bro. We know who he is now. Okay, well, like if that is true, I mean, I guess you have to have me. He hasn't been a full-time starter for a year. And like you're saying, Jamar, there's probably a reason for that, but we have no other choice than to put him on the field,
It's true. We literally
right?
have no choice. He was a first round pick, and we got to hope that he thrives to be that first round pick.
Yeah, and if he fails, he fails, but like, we do need to see that officially, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But
And
with that said,
honestly,
guys,
oh, I was making one more point. And honestly,
yeah, go for it.
I would not be surprised if he does, just because I feel like I really can't imagine signing him to another contract right now.
No, no,
Right?
not the way he's playing. Or you're
Even
gonna
if
sign him,
even if he's just like good, right? I can't.
or you're gonna sign him to the minimum, and he's gonna turn good, and he's gonna be like, fuck, now I'm gonna have to earn this contract again.
I
So
don't
it's
know.
like,
I don't know if he would get the minimum. I think he would probably still get somewhere. I think he would get more money elsewhere. But
it's possible. But hey, with that being said, we got to get out of here. Our show went by so fast. Always does. We'll be back next week with the first preseason game of the NFL season. We will be literally bringing you Eagles content every single week, the best on YouTube, and nothing else to say. So, Scotty, anything else to say?
hope you guys have a great weekend. Keep enjoying your summer. I know you will, Kyle. It looks beautiful where you're at on the Jersey Shore right now.
Yeah, let me show
And
you guys real quick. Hold on. So,
we got a
pretty
live
much
report.
live
Where are
report
you?
right here.
You're in LBI, right?
No, this is like Manahawk, and it's right across the bridge. So it's
Oh,
a whole bay of boats, and it's just
very nice. That was
it's
awesome.
it's just incredibly peaceful. So I'm
Now,
gonna enjoy my time here.
Are you at your friend's house, family, or are you renting Airbnb for the weekend?
I don't know. This is my buddy's house.
Oh, okay, cool, awesome,
Yeah, I come down here like maybe once every 3 weeks.
very nice.
So yeah,
All
it's
right,
pretty
guys.
awesome.
Well, go Birds, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
Yep, go Birds. See you guys next Friday.